So you're looking for a new axe build because you don't like how slow you attack with your current axe build. You want something that still does good damage and has some decent survivability. Well, I've got the build for you. So I've been working on this build for about a week, trying to balance out the attack speed and the damage, and also give it enough survivability that it didn't feel like you were a glass cannon. This build is a lot of fun to play. I've been using it in Escalations and in Gauntlet and stuff. This is by no means a trial build, but it's great for Escalations, Gauntlet, and other group activities. I wouldn't use it in trials because it's very part break dependent as it is a reuse based build. But let's take a look at it. All right, for the weapon, we are using Mind Splitter with a Reduce Cell, a Berserker Cell, and the special Grim Onslaught. For the mod, we are using Overcharged Cylinder. And for the bond, we are using Stalker's Mercy. For the Omni Cell, I'm personally using Tempest for the extra attack speed, and the Tempest hits on this build actually turn out to be reasonably good hits. Not amazing hits like a full-on Tempest build, but good damage nonetheless. If you want more survivability, you could always switch this over to an Iceborne Cell at a cost of a little bit of your attack speed, but the build will work with either one of those cells pretty good. If you want to sacrifice some survivability, this build will work perfectly fine with discipline, but you're going to have to play very tight on your dodges. For the lantern, I'm using Pangar's Shrine. If you switch this over to Iceborne or switch this over to discipline, you might want to run Shrike's Zill with this build. If you want more survivability, you can always go with the Koshai's Lantern. For the cell in this, we're going to be using the reuse cell. This is going to be our 1+3 reuse cell. We're not going to full +6 with this build, but that is an option if you want to go that route. For the helmet, we're going Thunderdeep's Capacitor with a +3 recycle cell. Now we are only running +3 on recycle because this is still an axe build, and stacking it to +6 even at the insane attack speed that this build gets up to is going to be a little bit tricky, and I felt there was other cells that would better benefit this build than going full +6 on recycle. For the chest, we're going with the Dark Morrow. This is going to give us +3 rage as well as our other +3 sharpen. Sharpen is going to be one of the only 3 cells we actually take to +6 in this build because we're mixing in a lot of different damage and speed sources with this build. For the gloves, we're going with Chrono Grips. This is giving us +3 pulse, and we're going to put a +3 parasitic cell in this, giving us that extra survivability that this build I personally think really needs. And for the boots, we're going with Bladed Boots. This is giving us +3 Assassin's Frenzy, and we're putting a +3 pulse in this to bring both our Assassin's Frenzy and our pulse up to +6. This isn't a catalyst build, so the tonics don't really matter all that much, but I would still recommend going with an Assault tonic, a Blitz tonic, and an Ether Drive tonic for your tonic loadout. This is going to give you the extra edge on attack speed at the start of the fight before you get your first part break in, the Assault tonic for a little bit more behemoth control, and the Ether Drive tonic just for the extra damage from your Pangar Lantern. All right, let's talk about the perk breakdown. The first one we got is Assassin's Frenzy +6. This is going to give us a 15% attack speed bonus for 40 seconds after a part breaks. This is really good. It's not a lot of attack speed, but it's going to be a sustainable amount of attack speed in case your attack speed from Reduce falls off before you break another part. Our second bonus is going to be +6 pulse. Every 5th hit of your weapon is a guaranteed critical attack with a bonus 15% critical strike damage. Sharpen +6, this is giving us 30% part damage, and after dodging an attack, your next attack within 5 seconds deals 100% increased part damage. This cell synergizes really well with Assassin's Frenzy and Reuse, as it gives you that extra part damage to get an early break on the behemoth so that you can get the attack speed bonus and start rolling the damage in faster. Next, we've got a +3 Berserker. This is going to cost us 150 of our hit points permanently, but this is going to give us a 2% stacking damage buff for 10 seconds. Now this cell doesn't really work well with Axe, but because of the increased attack speed of this build, it actually synergizes really well with the heightened attack speed on this build. Parasitic +3. When you take damage, 20% of the damage is delayed over 10 seconds, and while the damage is delayed, you gain 5% life steal. This doesn't apply to damage under 10% of your maximum HP. This is going to help delay some of those bigger hits you take, which is going to help a lot with your reduced health pool. And this is going to give you that sustainability with the extra life still after you take hits. And this is going to synergize well with rage because you're going to need to take a hit every once in a while to keep the rage damage up. Now, speaking of rage, our next perk is +3 rage. Once every 30 seconds, when you take damage, you deal 20% more damage for 15 seconds. I considered taking this up to +6 to give us a 15-second cooldown on that. The reason I didn't is because I wanted to get some other damage sources in here rather than just reducing the cooldown on this, I wanted to get more stacking damage bonuses. +3 recycle. Again, this is another one we're not going to take to +6. There's a reoccurring theme with this build, but this is going to give you a 10% stacking damage bonus that stacks up to 3 times, which works well with the synergy of Axe, and with the increased attack speed of this build, I think this works out really well. You could take this to +6, but every time you hit a different part, this stack is going to reset, and +3 is basically a full combo of your Axe, so this is going to make your last hit Axe combo have a bonus 30% damage. And because of all the speed buffs we have on this build, we've got a little bit too much speed, so we're going to do a sacrifice 15% of that speed to get an extra 20% damage with a +3 reduce cell. When I was originally testing this build, we were using +6 reduce, but that made the build feel too clunky at the start, so this is kind of balancing out that initial slow speed without us going too far over the attack speed cap with all the extra bonuses we're getting to attack speed as we start breaking parts and building up our damage stacks with this build. And our last perk is going to be a +3 reuse. Normally, I would say that you should run this at +6, but with this build, we're kind of being a little bit greedy. This isn't designed as a group play build, although it will work fine in groups. And if you do play this in groups, you could change this out to a Molten or something else. If somebody else in the group has a +6 reuse already, then you don't need to run this. But we're basically running this solely for the 10% self buff to attack speed, and if we actually get the group attack speed bonus, that's just kind of a bonus in that regard. If you're playing in random groups and stuff like that, and you don't know if somebody's going to be running reuse, I kind of like running just a +3 so that I can at least be greedy on my part breaks. Then one thing I do want to talk about with this build is the Bond Stalker's Mercy that we're using. This is going to give us an on chance after dealing damage to generate a shadow orb that grants a 2.5% damage bonus for 5 seconds. If you have 5 of the orbs, it doubles that damage bonus all the way up to a 4.5% damage bonus per orb. This is a pretty sizable damage bonus, and normally with Axe, this isn't the best bond to be using. It does give you a lot of damage, but it's a little hard to get those stacks up on Axe normally. But since we're going with a high attack speed build, you don't really need to worry too much about that. What I've been really enjoying about this build is that it has a good balance between attack speed and damage. It's a lot of fun to play, and it kind of breaks from that standard gameplay model with Axe where you do big hits and attack slow. With this one, you're still getting in some really big hits, especially if you don't have a fully built out Axe build already. You get some really good size hits. Your Tempest hits do hit pretty hard with this build, considering you have Sharpened, which synergizes so well with Tempest, but you also have an insane amount of attack speed once the part breaks start happening. If you haven't got your Axe power surged all the way to 10 yet, I would definitely try out this build. It is great for speedrunning escalations to level up your Axe really quickly, or if you're just in general wanting to just power surge your Axe even beyond 10, this is a great fast attack speed build that will just mow through most escalations without hesitation. For this build, I would definitely recommend trying to get a dodge right off the bat. Let the behemoth come to you, get that first dodge, use that sharpen 100% part break damage bonus, go ahead and do your Axe throw. Once that happens, that should get you your part break, pick up the Axe, and start swinging that thing like you're Sonic the Hedgehog. I wouldn't hesitate with this build to use your heavy attack hold to be able to reposition while charging up your attack. Also, if you're doing something like an escalation or gauntlet where you're attacking more than one behemoth in the hunt, I would definitely recommend trying to get the overcharged cylinder stacked up to 4 for that 75% damage bonus, which makes a huge difference with this build, and it doesn't take long to get that charged up with all the attack speed you have. You should be able to get that charged up in Gauntlet, probably around the first or second behemoth, and in Escalation, because the first behemoth is just going to die so fast, you're probably going to get that charged up to 75 by the second behemoth you fight. If you do decide to run this in a group play scenario where you're going to be the person using the +6 reuse, my advice would be to get rid of the +3 Berserker on the weapon and switch that out for another +3 reuse to get your reuse up to +6. If you're playing this in a group and somebody's already providing the +6 reuse and you're doing something like Gauntlet, Gauntlet and you need to bring your damage up a little bit higher, what I would do is to swap out the reuse in your lantern for a +3 catalyst and swap out the berserker in your axe for a +3 catalyst, getting the +6 catalyst. And then I would probably switch up your tonics. Instead of running the stagger tonic, the attack speed tonic, and the ether rush tonic, I would run the frenzy tonic, the attack speed tonic, and the ether rush tonic. What that's going to do for you is give you the attack speed off the bat that you need to get that first part break in. And instead of doing the extra stagger damage for the control, because you don't have that reduced hit points anymore from berserker, it's going to give you that extra damage bonus from the frenzy tonic. And the ether drive tonic is just going to be more slowing and controlling of the behemoth with Pangar's lantern. If you guys get a chance to check out the build, let me know what you think of the build in the comment section down below. If you guys are still looking for a guild to join to play Gauntlet with, we do have about 40 slots left in our guild, and we are still taking recruits for that. We're probably going to start slowing down on recruiting new members to the guild when we get up to like 85 or 90 members, just so we have some free slots available. We don't want to fill up the entire roster too quickly. If you guys found anything in the video useful, if you made it all the way to the end, please hit that like button. It really helps the video in the algorithm and really helps me build this YouTube channel up. We've been trying really hard this year to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we're almost to 500, and I'm planning to do some special content once we hit 500 subscribers. I'm still working out the different ideas. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check the community tab if you want to be able to put some input on what kind of build we do for the next build video, or if you want to participate in some of the other community events that we'll be doing over there. I kind of do the announcements for the new community events on the community tab. And if you're a newer player to Dauntless, I'll have another tips and tricks video right up here for you. I'll see you guys in the next one.